Get in the mech, Tenno! Okay, what's going on, friends and family? My name is Skylent, and starting out with a little bit of hype. You know what, guys? I was gonna do this video because obligation. I have to talk about every big, once a year, Warframe does a giant thing, and normally I'm very pessimistic, and this video is not gonna be too different. I will definitely devolve into a pretty toxic rant near the end of this. If you want to stay tuned for that, it's gonna be fun. But to be honest, guys, Dude, this looks kind of really freaking good, okay? But I'm gonna come out, okay? I'm trying to be critical, trying to be real with you, okay? Gamer to gamers, all right. My bias is that I freaking love the Infested, and I know that's not the most unique concept. They really, for Warframe, they wear their inspiration on their sleeve. In fact, in the actual Heart of Deimos gameplay demo, where they actually reveal the open world infested planet that we're going to be going to, they talk about, like how they design a lot of their monsters inspired by, like, Ghibli or Miyazaki, exactly. But actually, I've mentioned before that there's very clear inspiration from stuff like Knights of Sidonia, the monster design specifically in that. Obviously, like, a bunch of sci-fi has stuff that are like the Infested or the Flood from Halo. Look, Warframe is not the most original concept ever in terms of, like, literature, in terms of sci-fi, in a couple different mediums, but for what the game actually is, it really is a very special game. We all know this, we all love it, kind of, but we also hate it for a couple of reasons too. But, dude, let's talk about the love. Okay. I gotta say that for, I think, in my opinion, at least the reasons that I love Warframe, I've got the feeling that this next big expansion, though, at least the Heart of Deimos, even though it's probably going to be a content island like the other stuff and things that they've done, and maybe this might be more Flash, bark over bite, style over substance, but it looks like this is really kind of core Warframe. This is not only divulging much more of the deeper lore that we've been really just cucked over and teased over these years. They're giving that, but they're also delivering it in a way that seems very Warframe. It seems like they're kind of honing in some of the mechanics and some of the things that the player base really liked, and just kind of giving us more of that. Yeah, we're going to be piloting some mechs and kind of going all warriors on some Infested, but also, yeah, we're going to be riding some bugs as if they're hoverboards. Okay, sure. There's some weird gimmicks in this, and it just is hype. It's just the usual Warframe fluff. But actually, guys, dude, look at these infected designs, right? You're going to be kind of seeing the gameplay in the background. Sorry if it doesn't quite match up, but I gotta say, Warframe always had a unique edge to it, a unique grim darkness that we haven't seen in a lot of sci-fi. Like Halo kind of teased it with the Flood a little bit with a religious, frickin' genocide, whatever. But no, Warframe's really dark, kind of Metroid-ish, and maybe even a little bit deeper. Definitely, Knights of Sidonia-esque. But no, with this infected story and these monsters, I'm really getting the sense of, like, monstrosity, of aggression, and I just love the unique designs of these creatures as well. Because frankly, I'm just gonna admit it here, guys, Warframe is mostly style, and as much as you can do flip-flop everywhere, you have such acrobatic skills, you have so many weapons and so many abilities, for the most part, you really just gun down corridors, you just run through the game. Most of the enemies are just kind of human-shaped, or just generally, they're just kind of dumb, the AI is very dumb, just mobs that just kind of run at you. But in this case, for once, finally, we're actually getting some kind of smart monsters, and not even just the boss fights, which actually seem like they're kind of taking some time to craft. Finally, oh my god, Warframe, please give us giant monster boss fights more. But even in just kind of the general monster design, there are going to be monsters where you actually have to aim at different parts of the monster in order to maybe inflict critical damage. There's a creature that has kind of like on its shoulders, maybe I think it shoots out like spores, kind of. It opens up, kind of gapes. And it has this, like, golfing sort of missile launcher that you can actually shoot at and pop and blow up, and it might do critical damage. Then you also have these other creatures that are very strangely shaped. This is something that would really play in Warframe's favor, where you have games like Destiny and a few other title looter shooters, and especially MMOs, where all the creatures are really the same shape, and the aim mechanics, to an extent, they kind of matter, but in Warframe, if you have these incredibly gross, gruesome, very weird, esoteric designs, then you can have some really fun animations and gunplay with that, where, you know, maybe you gotta hit the end of a tail or the mouth of a monster, and it's wriggling around, and you kinda, well, maybe you gotta use the ninja in space mobility that you have to actually be acrobatic and get the angle on the monster, or run away from it, what have you. And the game is so slowly crawled in that direction, and it needed to be there, I think, 3 years ago, whenever they showed off the Plains of Eidolon. I was really excited for that because they announced a giant monster, and there's like one move, kind of, that you have to actually be acrobatic about, but for the most part, finally this expansion seems like, okay, they're kind of dialing in maybe what's actually like good and decent about Warframe. Still a lot of hype and probably a lot of fluff, but I think this is actually going to be legitimately fun. There's a couple of things to talk about. I'm not going to spoil the lore or whatever, and I'm not a Warframe YouTuber. I don't just sit there and regurgitate every little piece of news, but we are actually getting, I will tell you right now, this is going to be a deep dive into the story. This is probably going to be a big launching point, and I know they've actually made some big strides. Every once in a while, pretty much once a year, they give us some good juicy tidbits that really unravel the universe, or debatable the universe says, of Warframe. And I think this one is going to be another one. As soon as we hit Deimos, boom, we're going to get slapped in the face with some big, sexy, juicy steak. Anyways, that's kind of weird to say, actually. I just went vegan, but you know what I'm saying, guys. We're going to get some big, meaty, juicy content, I think, in terms of story. But then also, it looks like the boss fights are going to be implemented. And there's actually some really cool thought put into kind of the design of the open world. Obviously, being infected, they could be a little bit more interesting with what they do, and one core mechanic is that the underground territory, dungeon-ish, the path, the labyrinth underneath the ground, actually shapeshifts. It moves around and basically is procedural to an extent. I don't think they really elaborated on that, and exactly how much it, you know, really refreshes the gameplay. But that is something that refreshes the gameplay, because frankly, if you just have an open world, it will be discovered, it will be played through, and Warframe is a game that is supposed to be kind of procedural. It is supposed to be like about random events and dynamic events and things like that, and they've kind of tried to do stuff and things here and there, but I think now with Deimos, they really can do that, because it's like a living, breathing world. Like the whole world is like wriggling and writhing and alive. So that's exciting. They could do some really cool stuff with that, and that's where we need to go with Warframe. This is what Warframe is. Warframe is dark, it's dirty, it's gross, it's weird, and tying everything together now with the story, and I think really mechanically it's all coming together soundly. Or probably, of course, that's just, you know, I'm just throwing that out there. But yeah, again, you can jump in mechs. There's gonna be some fun boss fights. You know, the story is going to be... Oh, dude, the story actually seems really good. I think actually starting mostly with the last open world that we got, they really... And, of course, a couple of quests recently. They've really been upping the game with the production value. It's become less teasy and more like just straight up full cinematic. You know, with the start of the Operator, we had some really good cinematic stuff with there. I'm not going to spoil that much, but then for the most part, they just kind of tease it. It's kind of episodic. I really want to hit home with that. Please, Warframe, give us more of that story content. Unravel it for us, please. I'm just going to be frank here. I guess we can now devolve into the rant. Warframe is a game where they just do a lot of fluffy stuffs. You know, it's like, oh, you get wings, you can fly around in space. Oh, now you can man spaceships and bullshit like that. Open world, woo. But for the most part, those are just kind of little grind islands where you go and you just kind of waste time. And then there's like there is something special there, and it is unique, and it's still Warframe. You're still ninjas in space. Sometimes, you know, you're on a planet, but whatever. And you can do a lot of really cool shit. And the game, I have to say, is the most fantastic power fantasy game on the planet. It's out of this world. But still, you can't help the fact that it's a game that people totally get burnt out on. And yet it's a game that also kind of sucks the life out of you. I mean, people spend thousands of hours in this game, and yet really the core gameplay is exactly the same as it was whenever it first launched. And I can say that because I am actually the first review that ever was covered on YouTube for Warframe. Yeah, I was one of the first people to ever play Warframe, and I reviewed it. So I've been there since the beginning, back when it used to be pay to win and an awkward and kind of slowish game. And now I'm here, and I've covered it, you know, every year, every so often, you know, big updates. I check it out, and I always do have problems with the game because inherently it still does have some issues. So can I rant about that? Yes, I'm extremely excited for Heart of Deimos, but I know it's going to come with a lot of new stuff that I'm going to have to grind for, that I'm going to have to run through, and, you know, the still core gameplay is kind of mobile game-esque. You know, Digital Extremes actually try to take their monetization scheme that's worked for Warframe, because frankly, you guys are brainwashed, and try to do it in another game called Survived By, and it completely failed. Look, crafting timers is bullshit. A lot of the daily limiters on this game is kind of bullcrap. Really, the overall price of the shop, and especially Prime stuff, is pretty bad. And I've spent hundreds of dollars on Warframe, by the way. I felt compelled to do so that I could keep up the pace, so that I could make videos and stream the game. And even then, I actually kind of couldn't. It felt really bad. It didn't feel that good. The game just has a lot of things that really inhibit your growth and really promote a very addictive and just, you know, daily play style. And I'm somebody, I like Dark Souls, or even Monster Hunter, which again is actually a grindy game. I would actually debate both games are grindy, but those games you can one and done. You can have your adventure, you can fight those epic monsters, and you get into the real gameplay, like, instantaneously. Some people would debate there's not even real gameplay to Warframe. It's all just grind. And other people would say that, well, the grind is the game. And that's kind of how it's explained away, and how you get this feeling of pride and accomplishment whenever you do the trading for platinum in-game, which is cool. Game's technically free to play. I like the trading with platinum, sure, but at the same time, it's just, there's a lot of kind of FOMO and just kind of mental assaults that go on your brain to really just prey on addicting personalities, and yet it is still a really fantastic game that is inherently addicting. I mean, even without all the monetization. So I see where the game has come from, where it's gone, and I don't think, I mean, yeah, they've added a lot to the game, but the core, absolute core problems of the game still exist, and really, I think the peak of Warframe has not yet been touched, because they keep going off in these really random kind of directions that are hype, and they excite people, and it makes them a lot of money, but I think hardcore players are starting to really realize what I've been saying all these years. Hey guys, here's a trend. They're going to keep going in this direction where they don't really actually go in a direction. It's just like they kind of spread themselves super thin. Look what they've done. You guys can admit it now. But with Heart of Deimos, I'm starting to see a repetition. And that's funny because I'm complaining about repetition and grind. But with this, I'm starting to see a refinement. I'm starting to see maybe an understanding that possibly we are going to get the Warframe that I envisioned when I very first played the game, where I'm going to be fighting lots of really grotesque, awesome, and maybe complex monster designs, you know, with this amazing kit that I have, and that requires this amazing kit, where I have to be acrobatic, where I have to do this and that, and with a story that is deep, that is hard, sci-fantasy deep, and I cannot wait to explore this even more. I'm somebody who definitely, you know, goes through the Wikipedias, reads the lores, watch the lore videos. I'm looking forward to that, especially with the expansion here of Heart of Deimos, but in the end, I still have to be critical. I still have to be a little bit dubious here of what's going on with Warframe. So yeah, we're getting another open world, we're getting some cute gimmicks, and maybe, debatably, it is more of the same, but a double-edged sword, that's maybe kind of a good thing at the same time. I'm glad it's not some random giant new, well, it's not even giant, but you know, they do these things where it's like, I don't know, oh wow, you can now pilot a planet, or some bullshit, you know? I don't know. Well, they actually do have one kind of weird gimmick that is kind of weird. Well, I just said, yeah, anyways, so you can actually now move certain Warframe abilities. Sorry to put this at the end of the video, it should have been at the front. They're going to also add the ability to change abilities with the Warframes. So you have a Warframe, you can kind of consume the Warframe to take one of its abilities and slot it into another Warframe. So a little bit of mixing and matching with customization there. But that's also just a way to kind of get you to re-grind the game. And I'm not sure really how cohesive and fun that's actually going to be. But anyways, there's that. You know, we're just going to continuously, slowly crawl forward, ever forward, because Warframe really isn't going anywhere. I'm actually got a video just soon, coming out soon, probably tomorrow, where I talk about how Warframe is actually like the #4 most popular game on Steam. And with these new announcements, and of course when this launches, it's just going to skyrocket. Warframe is a really cool game. It's just, as a lifestyle, which it kind of requires to really gamify it, it's a bit much for me. And I'm somebody who loves playing online games and having communities and stuff. It's just kind of a time sink, sadly. So hopefully with this, we have a refinement of the abilities. Please, I hope the AI is a little bit sharpened. Honestly, I would love to complain about the netcode still. There's so much I could still complain about with Warframe, but maybe now, if we could just kind of just kind of bunkered down and do what people really, really want and get, you know, the game itself into a higher quality state. Warframe looks like a AAA game, and it has all these announcements and expansions, but in reality, it still kind of actually is really a B-rated free-to-play game, and that's why a lot of people still mistake, you know, like the Warframe developers, Digital Extremes, as a small company. They never really were. They were straight up full professionals. They knew what they were doing, and they kind of know what also sells, to be honest. So, you know, now that they have a hardcore, very large audience, maybe give us, like, real juicy gameplay to really sink our teeth into every single day than just random kind of fluffy things that are like, ooh, I need that, ooh, I need that, you know, and just basically make a gacha game where the gameplay itself is the gacha. You can't complain about loot boxes if the game itself is a loot box, you know what I'm saying? So, I don't know, I think there's something a little bit more tasteful about this, this demo that they showed and shared versus definitely last year and some of the updates that they've had before and throughout its life cycle. I just feel maybe this is the direction I want to see the game go in, where everything's a little bit more focused, where things do tie into the story. It's not just some random mechanic, and, you know, everything actually kind of works in favor of what makes Warframe special, in my opinion. So that's pretty much it. I said a lot of words, I guess, but that is my rant. And here's the news of Heart of Deimos for Warframe, a game that I've played since the beginning, but not every single day. But if you have played every single day, please, I'm sure you're going to let me know, keyboard warriors, how I am just absolutely wrong about everything about Warframe. But again, I'm actually going to hype this up because this expansion is actually really sick looking. Definitely catch me playing it. I'll be streaming it. Don't worry. We're going to play together probably. If you guys want to invite me to your clan, I'll join the dojo. Let's do it. And by the way, just to end the video, my favorite Warframe is Volt. Volt is the best. And actually I have a whole video where I'm going to be mainly using him as the focus in order to express my love for Warframe. Basically, the title is going to be the most fantastic power fantasy game, period. And maybe I'll do a video called Warframe is Thick, because we're getting a lot of space MILFs. Anyways, much love. I'll see you in the next one.